few years back, I landed my first face-to-face PT role at a gym where I met Dani Mendoza, one of the top coaches in the entire company. We connected over our passion for calisthenics, kept in touch through community fitness events, and both went on to win multiple calisthenics competitions. Dani's been a huge inspiration to me in both fitness and business, but in our chat you're going to see there's a lot more to her than just that. After years of talking about collaborating, we finally made it happen. In this episode, we talk about Dani's upbringing, how she built her online fitness business, dealing with haters on social media and online criticism, her best fitness and mindset advice, things only her closest friends know, and so much more. Whether you're watching or just listening, stay locked in because this one's a good one. Dani, it's great to have you today. How are you feeling?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, we just did like an hour session filming together for Dani's channel, so go check her channel out. I'll leave all the links in the description. We're going to start off with some quick fire questions to warm up. Pull-ups or dips?
Pull-ups.
Deadlifts or squats?
Squats.
Chicken or beef?
Chicken.
Rings or bars?
Bars.
Training indoors or outdoors?
Indoors.
Sauna or ice bath?
Ice bath.
Favorite season of the year?
Summer.
Favorite place you've traveled to?
Ooh. Barcelona.
Barcelona. Can I ask why?
Calisthenics scene is amazing. Everyone's really friendly. I just have a lot of core memories there,
Yeah.
I feel like.
What was growing up like for you?
Honestly, looking back, I am clearly so privileged.
Yeah.
Like, my family's really nice. I grew up in a really nice area. I feel like the friends I made, especially in high school and uni, I'm so lucky that, I don't know what it was, but we've just grown up together, and I feel like at the time we didn't know it, but we all connected, and it just so happens that we all have the same values, and that's why we're still friends to this day. Like, they're still my high school friends and my uni friends are still like my absolute best friends because we've just gone through so much together and we continue to kind of grow with each other. And then on top of that, my parents were super supportive and I got to grow up playing basketball as well. I played basketball since I was like 8 to 21, and I got to experience, I think, the beauty that is being on a team, and that was sick. Like, I think, there's a lot of extracurriculars you can do growing up, and I think being a part of a team sport isn't something that I chose to do. Like, I had to play sport growing up. Like, that was not an option in our household. But I think I was also really lucky in that I picked a team sport to do, because you get so much out of it beyond just the sport.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You get the interpersonal skills and just learning to work with a team.
Work with a team,
communicate, right?
Work under a coach. I had multiple coaches over that time period. I played multiple sports as well. So at school I played netball and softball as well as basketball.
Did you have a favorite?
Oh, basketball.
Yeah?
Yeah, basketball 100%. I just love how fast it is. And I think I was on so many different teams, and then within basketball you also have like state teams and things like that. So I feel like I was just from a very young age exposed to a whole range of people and learning how to work with a whole range of people and deal with personalities that, like, you and I clash, but at the end of the day we're on the same team and we have that goal. So not that I would say I learned how to like navigate the politics of that, but I think it gave me a very good skill set to have, in my ability to get along with people.
So you play basketball quite competitively. Tell me about your journey and how you started, how often you played, and how you approached it.
So I started when I was 8, purely because I used to do ballet, and I got sick of ballet. And then there was maybe a very short period where I didn't do any sport, and then my mum was like, you have to do sport. And my brother was playing soccer and basketball at the time, and I remember being dragged to his soccer games, and all I would do was sit on the sideline and read. And basketball was the one sport that he played where I actually put my book down because I was so interested in what was going on in the court. So I was like, I have to do a sport, fine, I'll do basketball. It started off with just a local comp once a week, and we would have training sessions once a week for that. Then I joined reps, and reps you had to play local comp, so I had a one weekday game and then I had a rep game on the weekend. The local comp wasn't that serious that we had to train, but the rep team we had to do 2 training sessions a week, and then we would also have a weekend comp, so I'd go to Melbourne sometimes and do tournaments where we'd play up to 6 games in one weekend. We had pre-season comps, and then from reps you then try out for state teams. There were camps, like every holiday I had like a 2 or 3 day camp where you're just playing basketball for 6 hours. So the reps happened because I was playing a local comp game, and I remember I was just actually really angry at this one player on the opposite team, so I was super aggressive. I had a really good game, and the rep coach was watching at the time.
Like a scout?
Kinda, I guess, because there were girls tryouts coming, at some point, so they wanted to get some girls to sign up. And he went up to my parents and he was like, I think your daughter should try out. So I tried out for under 12s, and I think a lot of the girls who were there really loved basketball. So obviously when you love it that much, you're searching for other things. So I just happened to be in a team where, the coach would be like, hey, there's this camp coming up, you should go to that. So we'd go to this camp and I'd have all my friends there. And then that would lead into sort of exposure to like state teams, because that was so normal to me, like trying out for teams, that when I went to high school and tried out for basketball, it was the same thing. Tried out for the basketball team, and then the coach goes, hey, you should try out for like the school version of regional and then the school version of state. And because I was with a really good group of girls, they were also being told to, I think those girls were better than me, so they were also being told to trial, and so I'd go as well, and it just meant I got time off school. And just was a reason to hang out with my friends that I really liked, and we got to play basketball, and that was fun.
Going back to what you said, what about that situation made you angry? What was she doing?
I think she was just really rough. There was a point as a kid where I wasn't a very aggressive player, and my parents realized that when I was aggressive, it came from like being angry, but then it made me better on the court. And at some point that had to stop, where the emotions affect your ability to play well. So it was a fine line of the beginning of like, I guess, my career as a player. It required me to really draw on some angry emotions. And then as I got older and smarter and just overall better, I didn't need to rely on the anger to make me a better player. But at that time, I think it's just it was what I needed to be hungry for the ball. So then that got me a lot more aggressive on defense. And I don't think, I was 8. There was nothing wrong with that girl. Like, honestly, she just made me angry because I thought maybe she was rough.
That's so funny. What position did you play?
I started off pretty tall at that age. So I was like, I wasn't a center.
Like
I would
forward?
say I was like a forward. I don't think you'd call him a power forward at that age, but yeah, I would be a forward. And then everyone grew taller than me. And then I became more of like a shooting guard. I don't think I was ever as good enough to properly be a point guard. Sort of that transition from becoming a forward to a shooting guard then got me to start doing sessions on my own where I would really practice. I'd go to the courts on my own and start practicing my threes, my long shots, my handling, just to be better as a shooting guard.
So would you say you prefer offense over defense, or?
Defense is really tiring. I would say I liked offense because it's more fun.
Yeah.
You have the ball.
How long have you been training for in terms of fitness, and what made you want to start?
I've always been kind of into fitness because of basketball. And I remember that first year of reps, we had an off season. So basically you finish the rep season and go straight into trials for the next season. So I was still pretty fit coming off of that. But then the finish of those trials, we had summer holidays and I would come back to training. I had never felt more unfit in my life. I think by then I would have been maybe turning 12. And I was like, I am never going to feel like this again. So from then on, when I didn't have a training session, I was on my computer, and at the time I think I was on Tumblr, and I would look up workouts to do in my bedroom at home. So I started off with a Tumblr fitness account, And then again, off seasons would happen. So then Tumblr became follow along YouTube, hit workouts in my room, started running outside to mix it up because I'd get bored. And then my brother joined the gym, so then I joined the gym, and then my off seasons were about going to the gym and just doing classes so that I could, again, just stay fit for basketball. And then I got a job that required me to do night shifts, and I could no longer commit to basketball because of the, I guess, like, lack of routine in my work schedule. So I was like, now I am just at the gym and I have to keep going because I know that this is good for me. And that was probably in 2017. And I got really lucky that I ran into a mate who also played basketball, and she was there at like 4 a.m. And she was like, you want to train with me? And I was like, okay. And then I would train with her because even I couldn't do classes because even 4 a.m. was too early for classes. So I didn't know what I was doing. And I was just so lucky I ran into her, and she would say things like, yeah, I really want to get 10 chin-ups in a row. And in all my like fitness journey of Tumblr and YouTube, no one was saying things like that. Like the things I was coming across was like thigh gap workouts or like sculpt this or tone this or burn fat. Whereas my friend Andrea was telling me about what I didn't know at the time were performance goals. She would say that, so obviously I was just doing what she did, and she'd be like, yeah, we're gonna do chin-ups. So I'm like, okay, let's do some chin-ups. And then I just got addicted to it because then we achieved the chin-ups, and then I went on Instagram and I was like, do you wanna try this? Do you wanna try this? And again, it was just luck, so it was super consistent in 2017. And then I think my friend saw that I was making all this progress because I'm a natural sharer and I'd post some stuff on stories. I was obviously growing some muscle, so people were noticing that. Then my friends were asking me to train them, which I found really fun. And then I wanted to learn more. So then I got my first ever PT in 2018, around the same time that I started going to get my coaching certifications. Look, that coach I had in 2018 was a good intro, but I would say I didn't properly start strength training until 2019 when I started Olympic lifting with my coach Michael. All that being said, even into the lead up of that, 2018 was when I started taking barbells and strength training seriously and structured training, but I'd always been doing calisthenics since like training with my mate in 2017, where I was drawn towards like chin-ups, sets and reps, like push-ups, dips, toes to bar, and then somewhere along there I was also like, hey, let's learn a handstand. So the bits and pieces of my training have all kind of started at different points, but I would say my training genuinely went next level in 2018.
Right.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
What were your goals like actually when you started training, or did you have any training goals?
Honestly, I just wanted to get better at calisthenics. Like, I just really liked it. So, discovering Instagram and discovering what a front lever was, what a back lever was, it was just at the time getting better at statics and sets and reps. I hadn't really done any weighted stuff. I wasn't doing any of that. I saw a lot of handstand work, so a lot of my goals were handstand related. Like, I wanted to learn a handstand press, handstand push-up, just different types of hand balancing skills. So a lot of my goals were calisthenics related until I started doing Olympic lifting, and I just thought Olympic lifting was really interesting from a skill perspective, and that's why I started it. But then my coach was like, you can't lift heavier in a clean or a snatch if you don't get stronger. So then I started squatting, and I took that seriously because I just wanted to get better at the actual Olympic lifts. And then at the same time, I had also started working at Fitness Playground, also now called One Playground, and I saw, coaches were doing deadlifts and things like that, and I thought that was cool, so I started getting interested in that, and I think that was, again, purely more from I'm interested in this and I want to learn this. Then when I realized I was getting good at it, I was like, hey, it'd be cool, like deadlifting double my body weight. And then that's when the goals became a bit more specific about numbers versus everything beyond. Before that was just skills. Yeah.
Have you ever been interested in any physique goals, or has it always been performance?
Honestly, I think I actually had a real moral dilemma about this because everything I did was so performance-based and it almost became part of my brand that I never would say out loud that I didn't care about how I looked. And honestly, anything until last year was very much all about the performance and that the aesthetic was a byproduct of it. And because performance was so much a part of my brand, I used to think I was a bad person for even admitting out loud that I cared about how I looked. And then I sort of just thought, you know what, fuck it. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Fuck it. I am just going to own it. Like, I do care about how I look, and it is something I'm interested in. And 2023, I got a new coach, Rob, and I had my brother's wedding coming up, and I was like, I want to look good for this. So that was my first foray into bodybuilding. And that's when it became about aesthetic because of my brother's wedding, and I just wanted to look good for the photos. But then at the same time, despite all the calisthenics and strength training I had done before that, like by that time I had a 182 deadlift, I had a 40 kilo chin up, like I was definitely super strong, but that period in the lead up to my brother's wedding was the most muscle and I guess the leanest I had looked, and I really liked that. And it took me a while to just recognize that I'm not a bad person for caring about aesthetic. So I would say my aesthetic goals are a bit more recent, and that's okay, that's cool. And I still managed to marry it into my performance goals. And honestly, I felt more confident. Like I liked how I felt, and it was realistic to maintain the habits that got me there. Like in terms of what I am now, nothing has been unrealistic about it, and maybe that will change down the track. But for now, I'm kind of like, you know what, I like how I look, and it's relatively easy to look this way, so I might as well just do it because I like going out and looking good. That's not a crime.
Exactly.
All right, so with pull-ups, we always think depression. I like to think chest to bar as well, so that the shoulders stay open. Quality rep means the chin gets over the bar. Controlled rep down means that you get some gains out of there for both performance and muscle. And that's pretty much it. I also like to think elbows down fast. If you're struggling to getting your chin up or your pull up, thinking about driving the elbows down helps a lot. With dips, I like to cue shoulders down for depression. I like to also think about quads flexed so that you maintain total body tension, which helps a lot with weighted pulls. If you're doing ring dips, also cueing that external rotation at the top as well. Same thing helps with shoulder stability too. And it sounds counterintuitive because I think people want the set to finish early, but going down with control and focusing on a controlled tempo will help so much with actually getting it stronger versus being able to just do it really fast to get it over with.
I ask each guest to leave a question for the next.
Oh, okay, diary with CEO style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's what they ask you. So if it was impossible for you to fail at one thing, what would you do and why?
Impossible to fail at one thing. Running my online business.
Yeah.
I love it so much, and I love that I can truly find a way to monetize what I like doing. And if being an online coach for this past year has taught me anything, and being able to be alone and to have time to explore what I enjoy, building a business where I can coach people, where I can get into the fun, nerdy parts of getting better at programming and coaching, but also still be able to travel and to get paid to create content for brands. If I were to tell you, hey, this is what I want to do, and you said it's impossible for you to fail at that, I would be an incredibly happy woman.
Talk to me about your experiences with online criticism, how it affects you and how you approach it or respond to it.
I have gotten a very wide range of online criticism, to just maybe the tiniest little thing like, hey, you should have rephrased that, to the biggest thing, which I'd mentioned to you earlier, someone accusing me of steroids. sometimes I post handstands and people will tell me that I'm a big attention seeker and show off. So I've definitely gotten my fair share of it. And sometimes it does actively make me anxious engaging with people like that. And like I will feel sick to my stomach and I have to pinpoint why. And I'm like, oh, it was literally because of some troll. Just block it and it's out of mind. So most of the time I'm blocking people. And like another thing that I think about is that I have started a lot of social media channels to build my personal brand, and having this personal brand allows me to work with clients that I genuinely enjoy working with, and it brings people to me who have the same values. And if you're out here hating on me, like, you're never going to be part of my community, you're never going to be a client, I don't need you here. So I have no qualms with just blocking someone, with ignoring someone. And yeah, just remembering at the end of the day, there is like, I think 7 billion people in the world. Of course, they're not all gonna like me. And if anything, I've been really lucky that in real life, I've never really had to deal with such shit people. So that's cool. And I think that's why I find hate quite jarring sometimes. But yeah, just reminding myself that this person is never going to be in your life or business in any kind of capacity. So you really just have to move past it.
Yeah, I noticed that in my journey as well. No matter what it is that you're doing, somebody's going to have a problem with it.
Yep.
You know, whether it's, you know, posting something about training or even your own life. So
Yeah.
you may as well just do things, I guess, authentically.
I
right?
will do the cleanest chin up and some guy will comment, you should do pull-ups instead. Like, useless.
So I'm going to read some quotes and I want you to elaborate on their value to you or their meaning to you.
Okay.
Action building momentum.
I love this because I think most people think that it's momentum that gets you to build action, but really, and I've been like this with anything, and this is what actually keeps me going. If you just do something for long enough to see the results from it, you get to look back at that experience and you get to keep going. You have this evidence that what you did got you what you wanted. So just keep going, because anytime you don't want to keep going, you already know that, but if I did keep going, I would get what I want. So that's the action, building that momentum there.
With competence comes confidence.
Yes. Okay, so I'm really big on this because I think a lot of people think fake it till you make it. But I think, why don't you just become really good at it and then you don't have to fake anything, which comes with time. And I think that's why the stronger I've gotten and the more knowledgeable I've gotten and just the more life experience I've had, the more confident I've become. And I think that's because whenever I say something or do something, or even just if I want to voice my own opinion to a coach who has a different opinion than me, I can say it with confidence because I have the knowledge and the evidence to back it up. And I think whenever, even if a client asks me, why am I doing this in my program, I can tell you exactly why you're doing it. And I think that's where the confidence comes from, just from having that knowledge.
That knowledge, yeah, from experience, but also like, it's kind of that balance between like, okay, yes, there's a lot of research and there's a lot of, you know, people saying X, Y, Z, but it's like, I've literally applied those concepts and this is what I found out.
Yeah. And I think the same thing with training. People talk about like, how do you become confident, I guess, in yourself? And I think the way I answer that question is very work-based. But really, when I go out into the world, I already know that I'm the type of person that does what she says she's gonna do. I'm a very consistent person, I'm a reliable person, whether that's in my work, whether that's in my training or in my relationships. And I get to go out into the world being like, I am a consistent and reliable person. I am constantly doing the best I can with what I know. And that's enough to give me confidence to interact with the world. Yeah.
I get that. Develop movement, develop mindset.
Yes. So I think this comes again with confidence coming from training and from strength, where this is just my own experience and what I've seen from clients is when you see results in your training and when you become stronger, that energy shifts out into the world and how you again interact with the world. Like when you are a strong person, you can walk into a room knowing that you are a strong person, literally, and mentally, because it takes a lot of mental strength to become physically strong. So you have all these qualities that came from just simply trying to move better, and then now you have this mindset that is built with confidence. So genuinely, with developed movement becomes developed mindset.
I actually think about this quite often, especially because I question, why is it that a certain physique or having a developed physique is actually attractive? Like, why is it that? And it might even just be the fact that subconsciously we understand and know that it takes work to get there, and you can't really cheat your way there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Like you can't fake that. And I think that's the thing where if I'm out in public just wearing normal clothes, I do get asked, are you an athlete? And I think it's a genuine reflection, like, you think I have the discipline of an athlete to look like this.
Technically you are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
You
yeah,
are.
true. I do compete now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you already recognize, and I think there are these criticisms that, just because someone isn't built doesn't mean that they aren't disciplined or aren't good at what they do. But I think it's a very obvious way to show that you're good at something. Because it's like, I don't know, your business card, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. So you can only do 10 exercises for the rest of your life. What are they?
Handstand, chin up, back squat, dips because they're badass, front lever, I work too hard. I love an RDL. Like, I think you can get so strong in RDL, but I also feel like RDLs for your glutes is just nice. Good aesthetic gains.
And it's just like one for the soul. There's something about lifting weight
Yeah,
off the floor.
it's just nice to feel like pretty badass like that. I do like a split squat. I think for both strength and just very mobile hips, mad. Like a more upright torso because of the hip flexor stretch. And I do like that knees over toes action.
Okay.
I'm gonna say front squat as well because I think front squats are cool.
Yep.
Like they hit different from a back squat and they just look pretty. Let's throw a muscle up in there because I feel like I'm desensitized to them in that, like, I'm like, oh, we're all doing muscle ups, but then you go out into the world and everyone's like, that's cool. And you're like, oh, okay, cool, it is cool. I said front lever though, for sure, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like sumo deadlifts were my OG.
Okay.
So let's put that in there too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go, guys.
It's
There's
a
your
lot.
program. There's your program.
10
You
is
can
a
literally
lot.
make a program out of that. What do you find has the biggest negative impact on your training when it's not on point? For example, lack of sleep, poor nutrition, low motivation.
Ooh, lack, like the biggest negative impact, nutrition. I can never get through a session if I'm hungry. I think that will play on my brain more than like poor sleep. Like I think with sleep, you will surprise yourself at what you can do. I don't think it's good to do consistently to get like shit sleep, but I have a lot of evidence in my brain and in my sessions of getting some really good numbers even on poor sleep. I PB'd a snatch on 5 hours of sleep. I PB'd a deadlift on 5 hours of sleep. Like that part of me is so fine. But nutrition, there's something about hunger where it's just like underlying, where if I don't have like a pre-workout meal, I'm gonna be so mad. Like I don't think I could ever do a fasted workout again. Yeah, definitely nutrition.
Yeah, I love what you said before about leading with the elbows.
Yeah, elbows down. Because I think we all think about the back, which is obvious, but sometimes you can take away the cue from the obvious to get the result that you actually want. Which I think the same about like deadlifts, like when you actually, or even bench, if you get someone to think about their legs in a bench, their bench becomes so much stronger as well.
Yeah, right. Nice. Perfect, one more. Good job. What's harder, pull-ups or dips?
I think pull-ups are harder right now more because I don't do a lot of pulls these days. I'm doing a lot of chin-ups, I would say.
Do you have a favorite movement?
Do I have a what?
Favorite movement
Oof.
or skill?
I don't think anything's ever going to beat a handstand. They're just so nice and fun. But if I had a second favorite, it'd be chin-ups. Yeah.
What's your strongest movement?
I wouldn't have said pulls, but I get a lot of weighted calisthenics athletes telling me that I have good pull strength. Yeah, it's actually crazy. I know a lot of weighted calisthenics athletes who have these incredible dips, and I would be like, oh, you're so much stronger than me. But then my pull is way better than theirs. I'm like, oh, it really is. I do have a good pull.
Yeah.
I think it's coming off in my my lever training as well. Like my levers are getting better, which is cool too.
What is it like being a trainer when someone approaches you in the gym with advice that you already know?
Oh! You know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with, I actually embrace advice. I do. But I think, and if you had asked me this when I was younger, I would be like, you know what? I want to hear what every person has to say, no matter what it is. Whereas now that I know more people and I have access to so many coaches, like if I want to learn something, I know exactly who the best person to ask is for that. And I think just there's been times when I'm being approached in the gym where maybe I'm in a rush that day, or I'm just not in a good mood. I just wanted to put my headphones in and train. And I think it's those situations that I'm like, hey man, mentally I am not ready to receive anything. Like, please leave me alone. I think I was maybe too much of a pushover before in that, like, give me unsolicited advice because I don't know anything. Whereas now I'm sort of like, you giving me unsolicited advice is just a reflection of what type of person you are. So beyond the unwanted advice, I don't even just want to interact with you as a person. So I just hate it.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, I do my own education. I do like at least 2 courses a year. I work with a coach consistently. Because my training is so broad, I am constantly working with different coaches and looking at different programs. Some of my best friends are PTs. I'm always watching at the gym where if a PT is doing something and we're like kind of close, I'll ask them, hey, why'd you do that? Like, I do not take this as me being like, I know everything. It's just, I'm gonna pick who my sources are, and I'm confident in those.
And it definitely shows. Like you've had a coach almost all your life for something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the value of a coach to you?
My experience with coaches has mostly been in sport or training, and I've had a lot of mentors as well. So also in work. I've never had like a life coach, but every coach I've had, and again, I think I'm very good at picking my coaches as well. The value on surface level has made me a better coach because I'm learning so much from them, and because I've worked with a range of coaches, I love seeing like, this is how I would coach something and that's how you would coach something, and I love having that in my toolbox for if there is a client where in the way I naturally coach you, you're not resonating with, I'm gonna pick some cues from other coaches I've learned. So it's just made me a better person in general, better coach in general. And I think the way my coaches treat me has made me a better person as well, because I have never felt judged by a coach, no matter what my question is, no matter what my struggles are in that moment. And I always want to make sure that my clients feel just as warm with me as my coaches have made me feel as well. So it's just made me a much better person in like relationships too. That went many places. Did that make sense?
No, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, amazing. Optimizing routines for productivity is massive right now. From my understanding, you're quite intentional with your daily decisions in the way that they influence your health and your fitness. So tell me about your current non-negotiables. Why do you do them and how do you implement them in your day?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with water. I think like water underrated, and in terms of recovery, energy, stress management, it's actually huge. So non-negotiable for me is always minimum 2 liters. That's just for my body weight. So everyone's different. As soon as I wake up, I have 2 glasses of water. Anytime I have a coffee, I have a glass of water, and I always have a glass of water with meals, and that tends to already take me to that 2 liter mark, so that's how I implement that. Nothing has helped my metabolism more than steps, especially transitioning from a coach job to a desk job. So 9K steps a day, or averaging 9K, that's a non-negotiable for me, and I implement it simply by getting out in a walk. And I do that more in the midday. It's just nice to leave the desk as well, get some movement in, spend a bit of time in the sun. I wouldn't say journaling is a hard non-negotiable for me, but I have been journaling ever since I finished high school, and I probably do at minimum once a week. And I've noticed that when I don't do it and I come back to it, I realize there were so many thoughts that I wasn't addressing in my head. So for me, journaling has been a really good way for me to become more self-aware, to check in with myself, to manage anxieties that I didn't realize I might have been pushing down, and also just a way for me to show gratitude. I wish I could tell you that gratitude daily was a non-negotiable for me, but it's something that I'm actually just trying to make more of a non-negotiable, and I find that journaling has helped me a lot with that. 140 G's of protein, and that's just by me making meals protein centered. So every time I'm hungry, I think about protein first and then build a meal around that. These are all more from a health standpoint, hey, but not necessarily a productivity standpoint.
No, I think definitely they cross over into some productivity as well.
Yeah.
Especially with journaling, I feel like it's not just health that you're kind of building there. It's your software, I guess, your mind, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
I guess, and then to give you a productivity point, I wouldn't ever say I've said it out loud as a non-negotiable, but I plan my day and I plan my week. So every Monday morning I plan my week and I schedule everything, and that's to make sure I get everything done. And then I also plan my day, and that also helps me stay on top of everything. And a non-negotiable I actually have is flexibility within the structure. So as much as I am a big fan of routine, and I quite thrive under routine, something I've gotten a lot better is understanding that my best looks different on different days, and I can then adjust my routines as needed.
Speaking of non-negotiables, why is sleeping with a fan on, even through winter nights, so important to you?
Where did you get this from? Where did you get that?
Answer it first and I'll tell you.
That's hilarious. I've actually recently started to train myself to be able to sleep without the noise. The fan is literally just like white noise to me, and so during winter I turn it around because I just need the noise. Like, I can't sleep with any lights. Like, I have a sleep mask, and before I couldn't sleep without, if it was just pure silence, hated it. That's why I find it impossible to take naps, just like the sound and daylight. And even now, even though I've just told you I've been trying to sleep without the fan, it's still a struggle to just have the silence. And I think I just have a much more quality sleep when I have the fan on. Not that I've been really tracking it, but just mentally, I go to sleep a lot faster with the fan on.
Right.
I need it.
I'm pretty sure I saw you tracking things like on a Whoop, right?
I was,
Yeah.
but that whole time I had the fan on, so I
Okay.
never experimented without the fan.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you noticed what it's like without the fan? Is it just like,
It's just too quiet that I then focus on the quiet. Whereas the white noise machine is just there.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's too quiet and then a car might drive by and then that's super loud, or I don't like it. I don't want to say it's eerie, like I'm not scared.
Do you start thinking or?
I think I'm just focusing on the silence itself.
Right.
And that's the thinking in itself.
Okay, have you ever tried listening to ASMR or something? Or like, those raindrop sounds? Or
I think
is it
the
something?
fan is the raindrop to me because I don't sleep with my phone in my room.
Okay.
So I just need something.
Yeah. So you left Fitness/One Playground in April 2023 to move your business online.
Yeah.
What was it like saying goodbye to the Marrickville gym?
I never really said goodbye because I still hang out with everyone and I still film there like every week with Luch. The process of saying goodbye was more just this really nice affirmation of the friends I made there, not to toot my own horn, but the impact I had on people there. And I remember at my goodbye, like I had a farewell event, and one of the PTs there, Blanche, said, I hope that if I leave One Playground, this many people come to my farewell. So I think for me, it was more just a event where I got to celebrate my time there. But I don't feel like I said goodbye because one of my mates told me, the people that you hung out with outside of work are going to be the people that you still hang out with despite you leaving. And that's very true. Like, it's some people I've actually gotten even closer to that we didn't hang out with before purely because we made the effort. So sometimes I get FOMO watching their Christmas party or their end of year events, and it's the one time a year where I'm like, maybe I should just go back and get like 2 clients. But to me, it didn't feel like saying goodbye because I still train there, my coach still works there as well. So that part wasn't hard. I think for me, I was just super excited about the next chapter, and I'm not the type of person that I ever look back and go, I wish I could go back to that, because I don't, but I definitely just look at it with fondness, and I understand that the goodbye was just the part of the step of, you know, achieving my next goal.
What made you want to make the switch, and when did you know you were ready?
Before I even became a PT, I was in Miami at the calisthenics gym training, and this girl came up to me and asked me if I did online coaching, because she was like, I don't actually see that many girls doing this stuff. And I said no, because I wasn't even a coach at the time. And I've always been like, if one person wants it, maybe many people want it. So when I started face-to-face training, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into this and become good at this, but at the same time, I'm gonna spend some time posting some stuff on Instagram, building my website. Then eventually one of my mates who didn't do online coaching, specialized in calisthenics, had a client who was moving away, and he was like, hey, if you still want to do calisthenics, my friend Dani does online, reach out to her. So that was the start of it, where I just realized I could coach online, and to me it was just something I did on the side for extra money. Got to a point, I think, where I was 25 and I was just so tired all the time. I was spending all this time at the gym. By the weekend, I just had no energy for I love my clients, but you know, the people that I love, my family, my friends, I just had zero energy for them, and I didn't like that. And I found that online coaching didn't take that kind of energy from me, and maybe it was also coming off the back of, you know, some lockdowns and pandemics that I was also itching to travel, but I wasn't ready to take a complete break and not earn income. And online coaching was a way for me to keep earning income while I could travel. And I think the combination of all of that, so energy, opportunities to be able to work remotely, and then also a lot of the clients at the time that I was, and still attract, were very much the clients I wanted to train. I'm not a PT because I want to hold people accountable. I want to help people who are genuinely interested in calisthenics and strength training and want to get better. These people are already motivated to train, they just need the map to get there, and I love programming, and I found that online coaching I was getting these types of clients, and I got to focus on what I loved, which is the programming side of training. So that's when that became a goal, when I guess all 3 of those sort of reached a point where I was like, I want to have energy for my friends, I want to be able to travel, and I just love these types of clients. Like, I'm going to keep working to get clients like this. And then I think I had 2 full years of showing myself that online would make me enough money to live my life. And that last year of sort of convincing myself that this is a stable business, that you can do this on your own, you don't need the gym. That entire year, my friends would joke, snip, because I'd be like, I'm quitting, I'm not quitting, I'm quitting, I'm not quitting. And I think there was just too many moments of me getting burnt out or just unnecessarily angry at people because I was so stressed out. I was taking it out on other people, that I was like, it's time to leave and build the life and the business that will make you happy.
So it was more of it wasn't like a cold cut, like I'm changing my business to online. It was more of like a phase into it, a gradual
definitely
phase.
a phase, because I've seen a lot of people just go, I'm going all in, and I'm just not like that. I think with anything, I'm not a very risk averse person, and so even like I said, there was 2 years where I could have done online full time, but I really had to make sure that this was a stable thing that I was going to leave the gym for.
Looking back, would you have done anything differently?
I'm sure I've made some mistakes, or there's definitely a lot of things I could have done better, like systems wise, right? Like, I used to write up programs for people before they paid me. Don't do that. People will ghost you once they've got their free program. I've learned that. So maybe I would have done that differently. I think I had a lot of really smart people to lean on, both in the fitness industry and without it, that every step and every crucial decision I had to make, I had so many people that I could ask for advice that I genuinely feel like I made the best decision that I could at that time. That you asking me this now, I can't really think of anything. I'm sure a third party could look at what I did and say, you could have done this, this, and this better or even faster. Personally, I think everything sort of happened in the best way that it could have, because hindsight's always 20/20. But I don't think there's anything that I could have been like, that was a major red flag in like my career, you know?
Yeah. Do you miss anything about training or coaching face to face?
Yeah, and I spent that so I started April 2023 just full-time online, and up until then I thought I was an introvert because of how like draining coaching had become for me. But then I sort of realized I really actually need this social aspect, and I was filling that up more with like trying to get coffees with friends or trying to do more social things. And obviously I love that, that was fun, but I'm still very much like a career-driven person. I'm very ambitious, and I think some people might not like that about me, hustle culture, blah, 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 but I still wanted to do things that were meaningful and to fill my time up with meaningful things. And I ruminated on that for a really long time, like that feeling of, that unfulfilling feeling that also came with, I guess, like a slight loneliness throughout the week, because I also live on my own. So Monday to Friday I was like living on my own and working on my own. I don't know many people who do online businesses full time, so I didn't really have like a mentor that was giving me what I wanted at the time as well. Then I was really trying to grapple with how to deal with that, because I didn't want to go back and do PT at all. Somewhere along the line later in the year, I might have started going to gyms with friends, or I was just having a lot more conversations with people who would ask me things or ask me tips. And if I was at a gym with a mate who wasn't a PT, but they were interested in calisthenics and they'd ask me for tips, and I'd be on the gym floor coaching them, I'd walk away being like, I fucking love that. That was so fun. And I wish I could do that more often without having to be a full-time PT and everything that comes with it. So I actually have just recently, back in August, I started coaching group classes at a gym in Marrickville, also Marrickville, called C3. And that has given me just the perfect balance of, I still get the time to do my content and to online coach to the best of my ability, but I also still get to do what I love, which is coaching people face to face and having also that social aspect, because the community is so, so lovely there. And that's how I get, I guess, like my fill of what I've been missing from PT. But it also allows me to, I can go and then I leave without having to take that extra work home. And I think that's just what I needed. Yeah, I literally was texting a friend about it last night. Like, I perk up on days that I get to coach, because I know that even though I might have had an already full day from online coaching and all that work, you know, I'm about to go hit a class at 4:45. I'm kind of excited about it, because I really, yeah, I'm just a very nerdy person that likes coaching.
Nice. Do you focus on breathing at all when you're doing, certain exercises?
Not really, because it changes so much with weighted as well and with tempo that I'm like, make sure you're breathing, but it's not part of the technique.
Yeah.
Not like, I feel like if you got me to do a weighted dip, I would definitely brace. But even with normal chin-ups, I'm not like holding my breath or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you?
Honestly, not really. I try to keep it. I mean, I did focus a lot on my breath in terms of, exhaling through the concentric and then reloading that breath in the eccentric. But honestly, sometimes like you're just so fatigued that you just got to get through the set.
Yeah. I think once you learn that pattern, it then auto-regulates.
I think when I'm watching over my videos, you can hear how loud I'm breathing anyway. So it's kind of just.
You know you're doing it.
Exactly, yeah. Are there any correct ways to approach a female at the gym?
So I don't think there's an exactly right way. Like, I've had people come up to me in my rest breaks and start chatting to me, and that's fine. Like, there's nothing special about what they did. They weren't being an asshole about it. They weren't being a know-it-all. They didn't interrupt me mid-set. They just came up and they said hello. And I think the way you approach someone in the gym would be the same way that you approach anyone in the world. Like, we're all kind of walking around minding our own business, but if you're, I guess, like a polite human, you know how to interrupt someone or to approach someone.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, like, I don't think there's a wrong, no, there's definitely a wrong way. There's multiple wrong ways, but there's also multiple right ways. And I think if you are approaching someone with like genuinely good intentions, you can't go wrong. Let me rephrase that. If you are an emotionally intelligent person with genuinely good intentions, you can't go wrong.
Perfect. Tell me about Burgers Anonymous.
Oh my God. I single-handedly kept that place running during the pandemic. Actually, the first pandemic, we were ordering from there, like my housemates and I, because I lived with two of my mates from uni. And did Becky ask this as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like once a week we had a Burgers Anonymous night. But then it kind of, it became too much. It became like a way for me to relieve stress, where the pandemic finished and then I have a really hard day at work, and then I'd go home and my housemate Anusha, I'd be like, let's get Burgers Anonymous. So there definitely came to a point where it became a little bit too indulgent. So I love it, but I'm never going back.
What is it about that place that makes it so special?
Honestly, it was just on Uber Eats. Like,
Yeah.
It was nearby, it was like semi-cheap. They had loaded fries, they had chicken wings from my friend Noosh, they had a burger for me. Bar Luca delivery fee was too expensive.
When I wrote up this question, I was like, I better check out what it looks like, right? So
I think they're
I went on
closed
Google.
now.
Really? Okay.
The Marrickville one anyway,
Okay.
Sydenham, sorry.
I looked them up and I was like, oh, I was kind of like expecting like this different burger, but it
No.
just looks,
It was just a basic burger
Okay.
that delivered,
yeah.
and we loved it. We'd sit on our couch and we'd watch movies. Yeah, that was a different time in my life. I still eat burgers now for sure, but I definitely don't rely on them to alleviate stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on this topic, actually, if there was like an unhealthy food that you could make healthy, or if calories didn't matter,
Oh.
macros didn't matter, what would it be?
Almond croissants.
Croissants?
Yeah.
Oh, almond croissants.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just obsessed with them. They're so good, and
Yeah.
I wish they were like super macro friendly, because then I'd have one every day.
What made you start clay classes, and why are you quitting?
I'm not gonna lie, I started clay classes because I was going through a breakup, and the guy said some things that weren't super nice to me, and it made me question my entire existence. Like, I left that relationship thinking I was a boring person with no personality, and I thought clay classes would make me interesting. And I hated them, they were so boring.
Yeah.
They were so boring. And then on top of that, I don't want to talk shit, but this guy didn't have any friends. And I was like, for some reason, I thought the only reason I had friends was because of fitness. So I was like, I'm gonna go to this clay class and make so many friends, and no one's gonna know I'm fit, so that they're friends with me outside of fitness.
Yeah.
And like, I was chatting to them and stuff, and I have no issues making friends. But then I'm making friends with people who I had like literally nothing in common with. Like, not in a bad way, like they were super lovely. I don't have to be friends with everyone. And after I was really honest with people about why I went to clay classes, I got so many of my friends being like, I don't think you have a problem making friends. Like, I think you've just made this problem up from your spiral from a breakup. If I had liked clay classes, I'd probably keep going, but they're kind of, it's money I did not want to spend. I did not like it that much.
Was it like the wheel, or?
No, because I thought the wheel would be too hard for me, so I started with just hands. And I made a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
but I was really only going because I paid for the appointment. Like, that's why, you know how some people only go to PT because they paid for the appointment?
Yeah.
I was only going to clay classes because
Okay.
I paid for it.
You know, I tried wheel throwing for the first time like a couple of weeks ago with my mum, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I like art and I had that background, but like it was actually quite therapeutic for me. Like, I genuinely could feel like I could sit there for 10 hours and just
Oh,
do
shit,
it.
really?
That was just me though, so maybe try. the wheel?
I
'Cause
did
this
have
is
a mate
it's
say,
different.
oh, maybe you don't like it as much because you didn't do it with a mate. And a lot of the people there had signed up with a friend, but then because I was going through something, I was like, I have to do this alone. This is my self-discovery journey, and I have to do it alone because then I have to make friends.
Did this like manifest in what you were creating? Like,
I just made a lot of mugs, to be honest. I made a lot of mugs.
Yeah.
I couldn't make anything else.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Did you keep them or?
Well, they had to go in a kiln, and I was actually really proud because I made like a mug for all my friends, and I never got a text that they were ready, so I feel like maybe they broke and they just didn't tell me. I don't know.
You said you're struggling, but it looks fine.
Oh, no, it feels hard.
When's the last time you did dips?
I had my weighted calisthenics comp in October, and then I think maybe I did dips for a couple weeks after that. So maybe like early November.
Okay.
I'll get back to them.
Yeah.
But just not for now.
Okay. Final year of uni. Potato fiction.
Yeah.
Tell me about this film project, and did you learn any skills on set that are applicable to your current life?
Okay, so Potato Fiction is the short comedy I wrote as my directing major. I like Tarantino, so obviously it was called Potato Fiction. And if I watch it now, it's really bad, but I'm still really proud of it. And it's actually kind of funny, if I do say so myself.
Is it online?
No, it's like hidden, it's unlisted. But it did win some awards at some festivals.
Really?
Like the score, because I had like original music and stuff. Like that got some awards, which was
Wait,
cool.
so you made the music as well?
No, I got someone else to do it. So
Okay.
basically, like in uni, you either make your own thing and that's your major, or you had to work on 2 different ones. Same thing as working with a team. Like you, especially as a director, you are leading. And I think that was probably the first time that I had to step up in a room full of people who were good at what they did. And that required a lot of confidence and a lot of knowledge, where I guess, like obviously I'm directing it, but I wanted to get the best people who specialize in producing and specialize in cinematography to do those roles. Yes, I wanted their advice and their input on how to best do things because that is what their knowledge is. I learned that like these guys were, you know, telling me the best idea, but they were ultimately making sure that I was making the final decision. I guess on a larger scale, like you can gather as much information from all the people that matter. But at the end of the day, like it's about what you do with the information and how that translates to like your definition of success or whatever the end product is going to be, you know?
Because it was a film project, was it?
Yeah, it was a short film, so it was only 8 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, but still, that's a lot of planning if you know film. So like, did it translate at all in terms of content creation or not really?
Oh,
like storytelling maybe?
Such a different vibe. Like I think at the time I was writing a lot more. So I really just wanted to make this comedy that I'd written. In terms of content creation, it's so different. Like we had this scene where it was like a potato fight scene where potatoes were exploding. So if you kind of think like, what's that movie? Children of Men?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wanted that end scene, like one take situation. So it was like this one take of like potatoes exploding and people being attacked by potatoes. So super dramatic. Like it required VFX, it required an original score, it required like a very cohesive story. And I guess you could say content needs its own like elements, but fiction storytelling is very different to the storytelling I am putting out now in my own content, I would say. Like if you ask me to go and do that type of content now, I would not be good at it in a way that I would be good at it if I had just kept doing that style of content. Yeah.
Weirdly that you
different.
say that, because when like we filmed your video first, and it almost seemed like you just knew, you had a vision of what shots you wanted, and like I said, you were really efficient.
Oh, thank
So
you.
it might even just be the fact that it's like the premiere thing, like you've already been doing it for a while and it's just kind of like
Yeah.
second nature to you.
I've been on shoots where things have been a mess and you are just like sorting through footage. So I think I'm very much at this point where I understand that efficiency is what gets you a nice product. As like robotic as that sounds.
Yeah. So you've taken up running.
I
Tell
have.
tell me about what made you commit to running from the point that you purchased toe spacers.
Oh my God, who told you about my toe spacers? Becky. Okay. I'm gonna tell you something that I have not told anyone.
Okay.
The running was also part of the breakup.
Okay.
It was in the lead up too. So I had a lot of anxious thoughts around this dude, so I started running. And I was just running on my own. But I wanted to keep running, despite this guy. So then I joined Run Club because I was just bored of running on my own. Had nothing to do with meeting people, nothing to do with friends. That's what pottery was for. This was literally just like, I started running because of my issues, but I wanted to keep doing it, even though the issues were gone. So I started running and again, just got really lucky with the people that I met, that they were asking me to go do runs with them outside of Run Club, and everyone was just super nice. I guess that is what made me keep going. But then the long runs started, I don't know if I was getting bunions, or I don't know if it's because one person said they were getting bunions that I was like, I'm gonna get bunions. So then the toe spacers thing, I was like, this is how I keep my feet nice. That's about it, really. Yeah, so many like components to that, but basically, I think the toe spacers are more from my end, a vanity thing, but there are a lot of benefits to them. And when I put them in, I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling something here.
It makes a difference.
Yeah.
Does it translate at all into your like performance?
I'm not training with them, so a lot of people do train with them. I actually don't think my feet are capable yet. Like I have to, right now I'm just building up being able to sit with them for half an hour.
Oh, are they uncomfortable or?
Yeah,
Right.
Like when I stand with them, I'm like, whoa, that's my next step. So I've been sitting with them for half an hour, and then I'm gonna move on to like maybe just walking around the house with them for half an hour. I think I'll end it there, like that's enough for me, but you do see people training with them, and that's why people have like the barefoot shoes and stuff. Like I'm definitely not gonna do that. I'm a big Nike girl. I love my Nike shoes, so no way am I giving them up. But I'll have the toe spacers for home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. No, foot health has been like such a big thing that's blown up over the past few years, and I'm like, I just can't wear those shoes.
I know.
Like,
I know.
all power to you, but I just like my Nikes or like my sneakers too much. Maybe it's like Filipino culture. I don't know.
Again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good,
Yeah.
and they don't look good. No offense.
Well, Dani, it's been real. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I learned a lot about you today that I didn't know before. Hopefully your audience or whoever's watching did too. Go check out Dani's page, her socials, her website. I've left all the links in the description.
Those questions were so good.